While I'm my gosh, hello and welcome to the after party of the Startup Life Live Show. Woo! After 250 episodes amplifying diverse founders from around the world, I'm off on a new Andelicious Adventure. More about that later, but after 250 episodes, we need to say woo-hoo, right? So leave some comments about your experience with this show. I'd love to hear from you, where you're hailing from. I'm right here in Boston, and I got to tell you, going live twice a week for 3 years, sharing founder stories and their startups. What? Yowza! My heart is so full from the amazing experience of interviewing so many fascinating and phenomenal founders from around the world. And it's been an honor and a privilege to share their, and maybe it's one of yours, if you're tuning in and you were on the show, startup stories, while helping other founders navigate the murky waters of startup life with solutions and strategies and inspiration and insights. Oh my gosh. And the heartfelt testimonials felt so good and helped me realize over the last 3 years that I was having an impact, which is what I really hoped for. And I'm so grateful for all of you adding wind to my sails. So we've got a fun after party that we're having here. I'm going to be sharing a lot of snippets from other shows, from some of the founders and their wonderful advice over the years. And of course, we have the one and only, that's right, Mia Voss hopping in with us tonight. And she is, of course, she's many, multifaceted goddess, but she's also host of the Shit We Don't Talk About podcast, which we all love tuning in everywhere we tune into podcasts. And so we've got lots of fun things, and she's going to help me close out this chapter and celebrate with you the magic of new beginnings. How many of you know what new beginnings is like, right? When you're sitting there just boom, bada boom, loving and grooving what you're doing, and then what? All of a sudden you're called to do something different. I know you felt that before. Hey, I want to say hello to the fab founder of My Moody Monster. Hey, Jen, thanks for tuning in. You're absolutely right. 250 episodes and an amazing group of entrepreneurs. And thank you, parties. Thank you so much. It's so great to see you. It's been really an extraordinary journey being able to amplify founders. And to get back to Mia, she's been on my show 3 times. We always do this happy holidays show where cocktails and conversation about startup life. It's so much fun. So she'll be joining me soon. But you know what? I want to do a special shout out to one of my dearest friends, Nancy J. How you doing, Nancy J? She's a dear longtime friend of mine, and she has supported me and the Lion's Den for over 40 years, and she's watched every episode of the Startup Life Show. I am so blessed, and she's also given me feedback every time, which is great. I am so blessed to have such a dear friend like you, Nancy J. Love you, like you. So do you all know the story behind Startup Life? Like, why did I do this? Why did I launch a live stream show twice a week, an hour each time, to amplify founders? Well, let me tell you what happened, because first of all, you got to know that since 2012, I have been podcasting and live streaming. I've actually had 4 podcasts and 4 live stream shows. So anybody who's saying, hey, I'm over 60, I don't think I can do this, do it. Don't be caged by your age. But podcasting is a passion of mine, as is live streaming, and it's a favorite way to build brand awareness and trust for the businesses that I've had. So when COVID shut down Boston in early March 2020, I was co-hosting a monthly pitch event with my dear friend, AJ, Andy Jack, right here in Boston. Every month, 5 founders had 99 seconds to pitch their value prop in front of a very active and lively audience. Then they'd have a couple of minutes with some investors asking questions. It was a fun live event. So when COVID shut us down, I said to AJ, well, we'll go ahead and do it live. And he's like, say what? What's this live business? And I said, come on, I'll show you. So our March event we had online, and I realized if we were going to be shut down for a while, this extrovert needed a way to stay in touch and connect with folks And so I said, well, maybe I'll go and do a live show once a week, right? And so I did that for about a month. And in the meantime, I was part of a phenomenal cohort called Founder Gym. Any of you been through Founder Gym? It was a wonderful accelerator program. And I was in a group with about 75 other founders, of which I was one of 4 whites. And so I got to tell you, when George Floyd was murdered, I sat there and listened and heard and felt and had a deeper understanding of the challenges for Black Americans. And I realized the best way I could amplify and be an ally their voices and help them with their businesses would be to celebrate and amplify their roles as founders with their businesses, as well as, females and members of the LGBTQ groups and disabled folks. And so, boom, I went to twice a week. I stopped coaching because it's pretty much a full-time job to host and produce a live show twice a week. And that's how Startup Life Live Show happened. So it's just been an honor to be here. Alyssa, one of the founders on the show. How are you? Thank you. My voice in the space has been refreshing. I appreciate that a lot. It's the Andeliciousness, right? Thank you for that. And I don't know who the LinkedIn user is, but thank you. And it says, Andy, so excited to see what's next for you. Thanks for all that you've done for me. And Trella, oh, Aja, Trella Technologies. Oh my gosh. So Asia, you are doing, and everybody go find Trella Technologies. They're doing amazing work in the space, especially for helping plants grow this way instead of this way. I mean, Asia is a smarty pants. It's Asia Atwood. Go follow her on LinkedIn. Oh my gosh, what she's doing is incredible. And then Marie Roker Jones, she says, you are amazing, Andy. MBA, you are a blessing to many founders. Okay, so Marie, since you're here, I have to come down here and play this right now. Get ready, everybody.
Some of the other mistakes were thinking I really had to know everything and be everything for everyone. You don't. It's best to either work with someone, hire someone who can do it better, and don't worry about it.
Right? Come on. That's such great advice, Marie. I'm so happy that you swung by and said hello. I got to put my background on here, my solar background. Thank you so very much. And thank you so much for your kind words. Everybody, Marie, I have to tell you, you've got to follow her. Let me bring it back up again. Here on LinkedIn, she has such thought-provoking, wonderful insights for folks, period, but for founders. Really, you change lives everywhere you go, Marie. And then thank you for all you do to amplify the voices of founders and supporting diverse funds who fund them. 360 Venture Collectives. Woohoo! Oh my gosh. Okay, here's another great VC firm who is all about female founders. Okay, go follow Shelly and Kelly and Anna and at 360 Venture Collectives. Thank you for stopping by and saying hi. I love you guys so much, and your work in the world is so powerful and so needed. Thank you. Marie says, LOL, love it. Thank you. I know it's a long time ago. You're probably on like a third business from now, right? Since that happened. So it's just so exciting. Speaking of some fun times that we've had in the show, can I share a snippet here? It was so funny. It was with Whitney White. Check it out. We all learned a lot from Whitney.
Actually, just nix those low-value tasks off your to-do list. Don't do them. Just do not do them. You see
but
on there?
Put them on another pile somewhere. Can you?
I don't want to let go of them. No, you're going to have to let go, Andy. You're going to have to let go.
Yeah, we had some really good times here on the Startup Life Live Show. Here's another great piece of advice from my favorite attorney. Oh my gosh, Sankita. What the best dream team is?
In my opinion, my humble opinion, I think the best dream team is actually your lawyer, your accountant, your insurance agent, your service provider team. These people are here to help you grow it and help protect your assets along the way.
Come on. This is the kind of advice we had all the time on the show. We were so, so lucky. And I don't know if you remember Sylvester from Johannesburg.
Being a founder, being an entrepreneur is crazy difficult. There are nights where you wake up 2 o'clock in the morning. You don't sleep.
Is that the truth? Oh my gosh. And then I know you guys know that I loved doing Stitch That on a Pillow. Well, here is a great moment.
And I will tell you what's important, Andy, is putting fun on your calendar.
Stitch that on a pillow. Put fun on your calendar. Thank you, Elaine Fluker.
Yes, that is so great.
You know, these are the fun things that we like to do in the show. You know, it's all about edutaining folks. And, you know, I'd have some delicious moments, but boy, that Stitch That on a Pillow. I had a guest, Jeremy Quant from Dot Red, and he said, oh my gosh, you've got to actually do those pillows. And we also had meaningful moments like this one, right?
Women have all it takes to start and run businesses and grow businesses, no matter what, no matter how harsh the conditions are.
Right? No matter what, no matter how harsh the conditions are. And this is, you know, from someone who just does not stop. And you would not believe how well her business is doing today. Check this out from Miriam.
Every opportunity in my life has been cold outreach and whitewashing the place with application. We may feel we're underrepresented, overlooked. We have Google. So apply, apply, apply. There is no opportunity out of our hands.
Oh my gosh. And Ruby, you're the next one I was about to play. She says, congratulations, Andy. Keep shining for us all. We are appreciated. So Ruby, I have yours right here. Are you ready?
Personally, it showed me that I still got it, right? For like so long, I felt that I would not be able to empower, inspire the way that I once did, but I am doing that now, just in a different way. It gave me a self-confident boost, even though I don't need it because like I'm a Leo.
I'm a Leo too. Ruby Sunshine, you are an inspiration and you are representation, folks. Ruby, Smarty Pants galore, had a traumatic brain injury and brought herself back. So that's what she was talking about, right? You know, you don't have to let life stop you. She found a way through entrepreneurship to keep it going and keep it glowing. Oh, look who's in the house. Hey, Christopher Cunningham, Mr. C. So happy you're here. Thank you so very much for tuning in. And Mia will be coming up soon in a few minutes. So I know we can all celebrate with her as well. And Ruby, Leos are simply amazing. And now is our time for career. Just saying, if you follow astrology. Thank you. And folks, you've got to follow Ruby. She does incredible financial literacy, basically helping everybody get really a deeper understanding, especially kids, as well as the adults and families, so that they help increase the opportunity for generational wealth just through savvy financial awareness and education. So we love that. Let me just share a few more that I have in here. I've got a few ones that I just really made me sniff. Here's one from Elise.
Do not, for 1 minute, for 1 second, allow someone else to dictate how you look and think of yourself. It is so important to know who you are and believe that, and don't let someone who is sitting in the stands dictate what you will do while you're fighting in the arena.
Right? I mean, come on. That's powerful. That's phenomenal advice right there. And then Catherine Gray. Okay, Catherine's got a big movie coming out about women and, you know, show women the money. It's all about the challenges women face when raising funds because of the indoctrination that you can't trust women, that women are not risk takers. It's stuck in the lizard brains. But check this out.
I think just people have to stand in their truth and their authentic self. You know, they have to be super passionate and believe in it and know that when they're asking for monies or looking for funds, that it's not about asking for themselves, that it is about asking for the purpose of this download that you've gotten, that's your purpose on the planet.
Oh my gosh, right, folks? I mean, how many whys did we hear on the show that were all about stepping fully into their expressed self, into their purpose, because I'll tell you, meaning and purpose really is more valuable than happiness and joy. It really, really is. And that's what so many founders realize. Now, Ivy from Africa, she reminded us how our mindsets can be the chokeholds on our business.
Mental health is the worst thing that actually affects many entrepreneurs. They fail at their mind. And once you fail in your mind, you fail in your business.
Right? Once you fail in your mind, you fail in your business. And we went on to have a great conversation about how we can release those chokeholds that keep us. Oh my gosh. I was just talking about you, Jeremy. I was just saying, the stitch that on a pillow moment and how you were telling me to actually do those pillows. So thank you so very much, Jeremy, for stopping by and saying hi. And everybody check out .red. Phenomenal. This is one of the most creative men I know, and his business .red and his work in the world is so powerful. I'm so grateful that you were on the show, Jeremy. I just want to continue on with a few more here. So Justice here shared what inspired him to get through the tough days.
One of my biggest mentors is actually my grandfather. And this is what always helps me just keep on working. He helped raise me, him and my grandmother. He came to this country with 10 cents, slept in farm to farm on haystacks, picking cherries every day. While my grandmother was pregnant, she would just eat as many cherries as she could so she could live and survive. When he was a young man, like 12, 13, he used to wake up before the pigs would wake up so he could eat out of the pig trough, the corn, because so many kids in his neighborhood died of starvation. Growing up, me and him used to look for pennies on the street, literally just for fun. So when I think about it, oh my God, I'm going through a hard time, going through a difficult time. I think back to my grandfather. What would he do?
Right? I mean, so much inspiration there. Oh my gosh. I love you too, Jeremy. You're amazing. Thank you. Thank you. So here's one too that I laugh when I see this because this is the truth, right? I know you're going to raise your hand and go, oh yeah, this is true.
And here's the thing about business. Business goes up and it goes down and it goes up and it goes down. It is never a straight line to the top, ever, ever, ever.
Right? Can you relate? And we were talking about the mythology about and what I heard so often on the show from founders was like, I should be further along. No. And she was saying she didn't add a dime to her family or her anything or earn a dime for the first 5 years. And this is a woman who the Shark Tank called Dragon's Den in Canada. She's just been their biggest winner, their best deal. And she has a phenomenal company, but she's in her 12th year. Right? It takes time to scale. It's really wild. Oh, good. Hi. I don't know who you are, but sometimes they tell me who it is. But thank you. What a great story. LinkedIn user says, so many good stories that we would hear on the show. So Portia, I thought added a great piece of advice during our conversation.
What I think I want to say to everyone is that your first one does not need to be a rocket ship getting to the moon. It can be the fuel to getting to your next one, or maybe even the one after that.
This is what's so important, founders, about entrepreneurship. You're on your business now, but I think maybe Marie can speak to this as well. It's not going to be your last one. And I'm going to play this just to remind all of you.
Are you thinking about launching a business, but you're afraid? You're worrying about what if it doesn't work out? Well, here's my Andelicious advice for you. You always win when you launch a business, no matter what happens. Here's why. Entrepreneurship, it's the best personal and professional development program out there. You're going to tap into brilliance you never even knew you had. You're going to level up that skill set of yours, and you're going to be building really strong persistence, tenacity, and resilience muscles that will serve you no matter where you go. If the business doesn't work out, you'll try again. Or you'll bring these outstanding transferable skills to your next gig. So get off the fence, tap into your courage, and do it. I promise you, you will win from this experience no matter what happens.
Right? You always win when you launch a business, no matter what. Hey, Rebecca Moore. Oh my gosh, so happy to see you, folks. Look, Rebecca Moore helps female founders. She's an incredible coach. She is a founder herself. She's an angel investor. Please connect with her on LinkedIn. Thank you for tuning in, Rebecca. This is my see ya bye. That's a wrap show. I have a new endeavor, a new Andelicious adventure I'm headed off on. So thank you for stopping by. I really want folks to remember that Rebecca is here for you. She has these wonderful group sessions as well with founders, masterminds as well. So be sure to connect in. And yes, you always win, no matter what happens. I just have a few more here I want to share. So Sandra B had some great advice as well.
My advice to founders is to, number one, acknowledge that there is bias. When you get a question, which you will get a lot of questions that you're only asking me because I'm me, because of who is sitting in front of you, right? Don't dwell on it. Always stay focused on your mission, on why you're the one who is solving this problem. Don't get distracted by the bias.
You know, the bias is there. Okay. The folks that are on this show are diverse founders. They face bias all the time. Even the most evolved white males are coming with bias. And actually, we all have our own bias that we work with. So she's absolutely right. Keep bringing your conversation back to the mission of your business. And then Everett, listen to what Everett had to say.
My experience has been, it's a daily experience of not knowing something. So getting comfortable with being uncomfortable is a really important practice, because as a CEO, as a founder, you'll encounter things that are like, what am I supposed to do with this?
Right? I mean, you don't know what you don't know. You're spending so much of your time looking up on Google. What does that mean? What is this? What the heck? Everett has had his business for a very long time. And his company was actually pulled in to help Obama with Obamacare. Okay. Smarty pants. And there he is admitting that he didn't know what he didn't know, and he had to get comfortable with not knowing. That's especially hard for engineers. And then, of course, our local goddess here, Jessica Kim, I say local because she's from Boston doing remarkable work, has this advice.
My dad, who's a psychiatrist, and he just really was a huge piece of just building my confidence. And he's like, you know what? If you have interest in something or you're drawn to something, not everyone has that. So you have to lean in and go all in. And if you have a vision, go for it. What's holding you back? If not you, then who?
If not you, then who, right? Oh, I love that advice, something fierce. And speaking if not you, then who? Natalia, biotech goddess here. Oh my gosh, phenomenal. You have really had incredible momentum over the next few months. Everybody go follow Natalia. And she says, Andy Lyons, you are so amazing. Thank you for all you do. Thank you, Natalia, for just being the one to go out and do what you're doing in your industry. Okay, so I've got another one here I want to share before we bring in Mia, a few more. Oh, Jen Beck from Colorado. I know her because of Mia. Check her out.
And remembering that there are infinite possibilities and that the future might unfold even better than I'm expecting. And so when you push so hard to this outcome you've decided you need, you can be blind to the actual signals and the actual opportunities around you.
So important. Sometimes we get locked in and we don't listen to the users, or we don't listen to what's going on around us, and we don't pivot when we should. And the magic is in the pivot. The magic is being open to what else is out there. And then finally, Olgi. Now, folks, do you remember Olgi? He had the sneakers, the heelless sneakers. Oh my gosh. And he's soaring big time as well. Here you go.
Every time I wanted to say, Olgi, forget this, give up, I said, well, if you give up, your father gave up his dream to raise you. He could have said, nope, I'm going to give up on my kids and focus on this. He didn't. And everybody else in the world are depending on you. They might not say it, but they're depending on you. So that's what drove me.
Right? Oh my gosh. That's something that gets you out of bed every day. And then I'm going to wrap up with this.
Being able to see yourself as the leaders that you probably leaned on in the past, understanding how talented and gifted you are, and that there are people that want to learn from you.
Right, Marsha. Oh my gosh, folks, follow her everywhere she goes. She's amazing and helping women founders everywhere. Aw, best angel investor ever, Ben Jen, saying good luck on your new adventures, Andy, and thanks for having me on your show twice. Yes, Ben Jen. Folks, follow Ben everywhere he goes. He's an amazing angel investor, generous, but also, with feedback, with helping so many founders everywhere. Thank you, Ben. Waving to you. I think you're down in New Jersey, right? Mwah. He was local for a while. It was wonderful. Okay, so before I bring her in, why don't we play some of my favorite Mia Voss episodes? Okay, a few little snippets here before we bring her in, just to warm ourselves up. I just have to find the right one because it's so important. Here we go. How would you explain toxic positivity?
For me, I really started to realize what it was when I saw the situation with Rachel Hollis blow up earlier this year. Specifically comes from of the whole, like, we all have the same 24 hours in the day. No, we don't. Madonna in her bathtub earlier this year, we're all in the same boat. No. We're in the same storm.
Right, Mia?
I was waiting to see what it was going to be.
Welcome to the show, Mia Voss. Oh my gosh, I'm so grateful that
Hi.
you're here. Oh, thank
I'm
you.
taking all these notes because I just wish I would have just been on with you when you're going through everybody, because so many good guests. It's incredible.
Right? I mean, my
Oh.
gosh, for me to just do that quick compilation, first, in the beginning when we had the 250 floating by, right? Just to remind me of all of us about the great folks that, were on the show. But then those snippets, those great pieces of advice from these founders from around the world. Wowza. Oh my gosh.
Seriously.
So I want to remind everybody, this is it. This is Mia. I mentioned her almost every single show. And the fact that she is the host of the Shit We Don't Talk About with Mia Voss podcast, which you can find anywhere you tune into podcasts. And nobody brings out the tough conversations like Mia Voss. But she also does other wonderful things as a founder. You've had this other business for decades. Where are you today working on that business?
Well, I'm crowded into a little corner, and because the lighting was so, I'm facing Times Square right now, and then it's much better lighting here. So of course I'm in New York City for my building inspection business. As anybody who knows me, I love to say I just get paid to boss men around.
It's so much
really
fun.
yummy.
It's such a good time.
And I've had that
Mia,
for 22 years.
Yeah. So, we can wear many different hats while we're doing this. And can we just say hello to this delicious man right here, Christopher
Sure.
Cunningham? It says 2 brilliant and inspirational women. You're darn right we are. That's
He
absolutely
is
right.
such a great ally. Before I, and I know I'll get on the whole stale male and pal rant. And Christopher is such an amazing ally for women and founders and diverse founders. So, and I swear I was like taking all these notes back here, and I feel like I'm going to be. Remember Chris Foley when he interviewed on SNL? He interviewed somebody from the Beatles. And he's just like, remember that song you sang? That was awesome. Like that's what I'm just going to be saying about every show, because I just remember that cool founder, and a lot of the people that you interviewed I had on my show as well too on the podcast.
That's right. That's right. I mean, it's very transferable because they're doing some meaningful, impactful work in the world. So it's wonderful that you had them on your podcast. And also, I just want to acknowledge you, Goddess Mia, for being such an incredible support for 3 years for me on the show. I mean, you were often, multitasking, I know, but you'd show up and say hi, you'd add wind to my sails. And folks,
Have
let me
you on
tell
in the background.
Going live, I tell you, that's a real stretch. And it took me a good 50 episodes before I was even close to being comfortable with going live. So if you really want to stretch yourself, go live across 4 or 5 social media platforms just to see what that's like. It's it's a lot, and taking the comments and all.
It is. It's the 8 arms, going on, and you're clicking over here and you're pulling that up. And so, that was the thing. I always hope that you didn't think I was being inauthentic in my effusiveness of how impressed I was with what you do, because I know from doing shows, I mean, I started doing live streaming in that's how we met each other on Google Plus in 2012, I believe.
Yeah,
or
2012.
13.
That was us.
Yes.
Brave
And
babes
so
out there.
yes. And so I was doing a weekly show with several guests at a time every Friday for 2 years. So I know exactly what it was. And speaking of Saturday Night Live, that's what it's like. The minute you finish that production, you're literally the next day, you're working on the production of what you did. And you're always so quick about it, of getting that content out there to say, here's the little juicy bites and all the fun little bon mots that were in the show. And then you would start that process again and do the next week. And it's a brutal but well worth it process for sure. You always did
Yay.
it. So
Thank you so much for that, Mia. And folks,
250.
this woman I've known for almost 11 years now, and we've never met in real life. So this is what it's going to be like for me when we finally meet. I know it's Die Hard, but come on, it's our favorite holiday movie. But it's, when he finally meets the cop at the end, they all go wild, right?
And Christopher was he's like, wait, you've never met Andy? And he said, it feels like you have. And I said, well, that is the beauty. And we talk about this too, of being on Google Plus in the past, and we connected with people a long time ago through Google Hangouts and so forth, prior to Zoom and what happened with the pandemic. So it's kind of a natural for many of us that come from the Google Plus days to just automatically build these non-parasocial relationships, healthy social relationships.
Well, and that's one of the reasons why I shared the history of why I started this show, because it was random. I mean, and I'm telling you, I know the lighting's great, but this isn't Zoom where you can put on beauty face, right? A, and B,
yeah,
no
filter.
The brain doesn't always work as, processes it fast, at least what I was used to. And I want to get across some great information, but wow, it's not always easy. And so I was thinking my days of going live were over, Mia. But the pandemic was like, nope, you go do it. And I did. And it was like, okay, keeping those brain cells sharp, those neurotransmitters.
It really, really did. And it's interesting in listening to one. So I sat in here in the green room listening to all the founders. I'm like, oh God, that's right. Oh my God, that's right. Again, I was taking notes of, oh my God, that was such a cool quote. Thinking about several people said it, but one of the last ones about, diverse founders, and then, not being caught up with the bias. I mean, that is so much easier said than done if you really never really had that much pushback. And so for diverse founders specifically, which is something you really showcased for them, which I love, it wasn't in a negative manner. It was in a truthful and honest manner, because these people, everyone has these lived experiences of bias, that if you're, right in the middle of the food chain, you don't, or the very top of it, you don't experience that at all. So for diverse founders, their difficulties and bias it needs to be showcased so people know what they go through. And
right. And oh my gosh, let's say hi to Brent. Okay, Brent.
Hi, Brent.
You were here every show. Brent, Ottawa, Canada, diverse person, loyal fan. A seat at the table is important. My favorite episode, Justin Ayers, who is, by the way, his business, Equity MD. Oh my gosh, he'll be making an announcement soon, but it's doing so well. We're so happy for him.
Really?
Thank you, Brent. And thank you for always coming by and always adding your reminder to everybody. How diverse is your team? Because this is where so many founders make a mistake. Well, I'll be diverse as soon as I get, far enough along. No, you have to be diverse from day one. You need every voice and seat at the table. And Brent is reminding me of another favorite show, the Billy Footwear Show. So folks, Billy was every parent's nightmare. He goes off as a freshman to the state college from his, Washington State University, has a good time one night and falls out of the third story balcony. Yeah. It was a miracle he wasn't killed, but he was severely disabled as a result. And about 10 years down the road, he has a really strong engineering mind. He finished his education, did all of that, but he really wanted a sense of independence. So Billy created a footwear company where you just zip up the sneakers. very easy, great for kids,
Mhm.
great for disabled folks who can't be doing the tying up, and still have a trendy looking pair of sneakers and other
I own a
footwear.
pair.
No way!
I
Really?
do. Well, Billy was on my show as well too
Yeah.
after seeing him on your show, and it was just what an incredible. I mean, we could spend the whole time talking about all these different, like, oh my God, that's so cool, and that's idea too of that with manual dexterity, which is something I pay attention to on my job as well, with working on hotels and inspecting things and making sure they're for the user experience, especially for people who have accessibility, manual dexterity issues, things like that, that it's so easy for someone with all capabilities to zip up that shoe and go. And I love that, that was the necessity being the father of invention for him, and then getting his friend in and, cooking up this idea that the cocktail napkin idea was pretty neat. So yes, I have a pair of Billy footwear.
And Mia, one of my favorite stories and founders, please know this is life, especially if you have inventory. Their first shipment of 4,500 pairs of sneakers, only 15% were usable.
That's right.
To be thrown out.
Yeah. Oh, the stories.
And so what he learned from that, the takeaway was that he had not partnered or hired the right people for managing this part of the business. And it really is who you know. So when we had the e-bikes guy on the show, he talked about how he had already built up relationships in China with all of the sources. So we knew. So what Billy and his team did, that was e-bikes. What Billy and his team did was that they went to the pro who understood how to make sure these things happened in the right way. And they've been smoothly sailing ever since. They're in all the stores and Amazon, Nordstrom's, etc. So, but, just even getting prepared to be on the show, as you noticed on your podcast, someone had to have this, the straw in the drink, and someone had to do, it's just really, really hard. And when we had, oh my gosh, name is going past me. But it was his, I want to say, nope, I really need to pull up the whole list so I can remember all
it's so
of them.
many. Yes.
250. It's not like I can just quickly call them all up. But I know his name begins with M, not maybe a Mark Raymond Jr. Whew.
There you go.
Thank you. So Mark, folks, was the one who had an accident when at the age of 27 on July 4th. And boom, from the neck down. From the chest down. And so what he did is that he now, instead of having Independence Day, because you have the biggest challenge when you're disabled is you have to become dependent.
That guy. Yes.
Right? So he has now Dependence Day to make it okay to change the story around depending on people when you're disabled or when you got anything going on in life, right, Mia?
Oh gosh, that was so good. Now I'm gonna I got my little, because I'm such a mess over like all my little notes. And yes, he really struck a chord in me. And then what was interesting back on Billy, it's in that same vein, as he had just redesigned his new home. And so he sent me photos, and I ended up putting it in the blog post of that, of the accessibility of how he designed his home. And it was just
talk a little bit about that so we can visualize it.
Sure. So what he definitely had, what you do with sinks, you have roll in, and then even with sinks, you need to make sure that you've got something that goes over the piping. If the sink plumbing is right there in the front, as opposed to coming out of the sides, you've got this little like knee smacker pads almost that covers the piping so you can roll in. Of course, height, accessibility. When you think about everything from the thermostat and in the hotels, you think about the viewer, the peepholes, we call it, that it's at a height that somebody can see that. Even with hearing impaired, that you have a strobe that's, usually instead of just the alarm, you've got a strobe that's on that too. So people can see that. And he did retrofit his home quite a bit. And it was really incredible to see. But you do need people that are in your world that agree that it's a necessity and not just a need or an inconvenience. And in
That's
construction, I do see that a lot. Of course, we have ADA and OSHA and so forth, more for accidents and so forth and safety. But, people see that as an inconvenience almost, as opposed to the necessity of like, oh my gosh, we have to hit this number of accessibility units, as opposed to realizing that, fully able people is a small percentage in the grand scheme of things. And then the more with the boomer generation, that's going to really increase incredibly in the next 10 or 15 years, if not, overtaking it now.
Absolutely. Especially if we keep doing more mind altering drugs. Oh, did I say that?
Wait now.
No.
Hold on a second.
Clink, clink, Mia.
Cheers. This is
Yeah,
not coffee.
I always tell everybody that I came of age in the 70s, so I have very high expectations on everything. But,
and I live in Colorado, so do the math on that one.
Mile High State for sure. But
Mhm.
I don't know if you remember when, speaking of accessibility, when we had Joseph Williams out of the UK on this show. He is a co-founder of Clue, a platform. It's only in the UK right now, but it will expand. That helps neurodiverse and disabled folks get jobs because they are just not given any chance whatsoever. And they've set up a platform. He and his partner, Kaylin. Okay, hold on. Kaylin Mendoza. Oh my gosh. And Joseph was saying, like, he asked me, he goes, Andy, can I have my partner on the show? I go, well, I usually like to do one-on-one. He goes, I'm neurodiverse and I'm disabled, because he's in a wheelchair. He goes, if my divergent nature starts to kick in, I might go off somewhere and have a moment. And it's important that I have backup. With Kaylin, I thought, oh my gosh, that's really asking for what you need, getting the help that you need. I loved that conversation. And folks, go follow Clue, CLU. I think it's Get Clue. Check out the remarkable work they are doing. It's almost, it's like a dating site, so that you're getting hired and screened based on attributes and real skills,
that one too.
not what the
Yes.
algorithm is filtering out.
Right,
Just-
right. And normalizing that getting rid of the idea of what is normal.
Right.
Right. And that's where, I always love to talk about one of my favorite people I interviewed was Temple Grandin, when she had that incredible TED talk about the world needs all types of minds,
Oh my gosh,
which is now,
yes.
10 or 15 years old, but just the idea of normalizing that, like that's a superpower rather than what is considered normal.
Well, and the beauty and the reason why you always win when you launch a business was, an example of that was Elise. And I'm just going to play it again real quickly because you need to remember this. And then I'll tell you Elise's story.
Do not, for 1 minute, for 1 second, allow someone else to dictate how you look and think of yourself. It is so important to know who you are and believe that, and don't let someone who is sitting in the stands dictate what you will do while you're fighting in the arena.
Dang.
Right?
That was
Dang.
juicy. That's a stitch that on a pillow.
So juicy, but also the reason why I feel it's so important, founders, is because this is a woman who came from a very unsafe home. She had to live in a shelter for years. There was a lot of bad things happening. She, had maybe $87 and landed in a city at the age of 17 and started her life over. And let me tell you, you cannot let other folks tell you and dictate who you are. And Mia, thank you for pointing out it's Mia Voss on the go.
It was
on
Mia
my
on
last
the go
show.
before. And I'm back on the go again, which I love. Gosh, I was Mia
know.
on the stay. Goodness, for 2020 to 2023 for sure. So
Oh my gosh. So everybody, I'll have that in the notes. Just remember, and don't forget to go wherever you tune into podcasts. Be sure to watch and tune into, I should say, Shit We Don't Talk About with Mia Voss, because Mia, I know you've been working on a lot of other things right now, but boy, you do a great job at having the tough conversations. But I love too that you've been part of this journey with me, and that you've shared, and you've heard these founders and the courage they found and the conviction, and where they pulled it up. We never know, but they figured it out. And, and Portia's advice that, look, this business right now could easily be the fuel that takes your next business where it needs to go. You have to constantly be moving and thinking like that. But I want to bring up one of my favorite quotes. And that is, coach me and I will learn, challenge me and I will grow, believe in me, I will win. And this is why, founders, it's so important that you have someone in your circle who believes in you. Okay. Because, coaching great, educating great, teaching, all of that. But someone goes, oh, you've got this. No matter what happens, you've got this. Right, Mia?
Yes. And you know how I love to talk about the board of advisors. I mean, you can have all different types of that. You can have, your friends, you can be like, so am I off on this? It's kind of like the AITI Reddit board. Am I the right? And you need those people that will tell you that honestly, or
That's
at least let you know, you should judge this up a little bit, or change your dialogue on this, or maybe if you see it from this way. So it's really helpful to have that whole type, all those different types of boards.
Yeah. And when they hold up the mirror for you, because sometimes you don't see how well you're doing.
Oh gosh, that's a tough one too. And let me keep tooting your horn a little bit. What I love about the shows too is they were long form content, which is wonderful. There's a lot of times, you just want to really dig into these things in your shows too. Speaking of it being these honest looks at the, the underpinnings and the inner workings of how companies do work their magic, as you ask a lot of questions. It wasn't just more of a, hey, come on and let's talk about the bright and shiny. You really did dig into and sort of bring it out in them, because I think it is encouraging. I mean, I think I was on your show, maybe 7 or 8 years ago, when we talked about the 10-year overnight success, right? Or just, how long it takes to really get that progress going and not to be discouraged by it.
It's so important. And I have so many favorite stories. I mean, I don't know if you remember the guy who, when I asked him about, his little origin bit, he talked about how he was born in Kuwait, and as a teenager remembers being on the bus that could have been blown up as they were trying to get out of Kuwait. Bombs were going everywhere. And he was on a bus with a bunch of people singing their hearts out, filling the world with joy and filling their hearts with joy. And how did that inform him? He said, any journey I'm on, those are my people. I surround myself with people who, even in the harshest conditions, are going to find a way to lift each other up.
Yeah.
And it's not the toxic positivity.
I was just going to say, you're going to say it, aren't you? And it's not the more of like, oh, just cheer up and, just meditate and, come up with some positive words and everything's going to go your way. It really is that in the face of adversity.
Right. In the face of adversity, what tools do you want to use? And a lot of times it can be, well, we do want to go running and jumping out the window and throwing ourselves on the bomb because it's so scary. But given that, that's not what we can do. Let's do this. One of my other favorite stories, Abraham from Pitch. Oh my gosh.
Yes.
Pitch Roof? Oh, geez.
I can't remember, but I know who you're talking about.
Oh my gosh, guys. Okay, so my bad. Abraham, one of my favorite people. It's just leaving my head right now. It'll come to me. But he was incarcerated at the age of 17. And when he came on our show, it was the first time he had ever really talked about this. And when he was 17, he got into the prison and he looked around and he said, no, I'm not going to be that guy 20 years down the road. I have got to change this. And so he taught himself computer science without a computer. Thank you, Brent. Pitch Gauge. Thank you, Brent.
That's Brent, who's been at every show. That's so helpful.
Pitch Gauge. And so he taught himself computer science without a computer. And then he got out and he did some handyman work, but he also did some work on on computers and helping people, a tech assist guy. And then there was the big hurricane in '08, and a friend of his said, come on down and help me re-roof all these homes. He's like, oh, okay. And he got there and he's watching everybody. And he goes, this is a dangerous thing. There's got to be a better way to measure these roofs. That's way too dangerous. He developed an app, and he took his old Toshiba computer and did what's
Love
called a
that guy.
Hackintosh. So, you know, again, got on YouTube, as we all do, to figure things out. And then he was able to first come up with the iOS version, and then he did the Android version. And oh my gosh,
Which you know we love.
Yes. Android
How we
user
feel
right
about that.
here.
I know. Stay mad, everybody. Stay mad.
So good. And so, and I was just so fascinated by how he has built this business. He's a dad, loves his wife, have 3 girls. He's a girl dad. And he, oh my gosh, go on TikTok, watch Pitch Gauge. Abraham is killing it as an insurtech business. I mean, when we talked, he was like 80,000 downloads a month for an app. That's amazing.
Yeah, it's incredible. It's
Oh my
incredible.
gosh. And then Brent, what was the name of the product where she okay, so this is Cindy Bray, everybody. Cindy, her husband died of brain cancer. They had 2 young children at home, horrific situation. And she's sitting there and she's watching, trying to recover from this and manage her grief. And she's watching her laundry and the sheets once again in the washer and in the dryer.
Yes.
Get completely into burrito shapes and like nothing's drying fast. She said, God damn it, I'm going to solve this problem. I couldn't solve the brain cancer. Wad free. Thank you.
Wad free.
Ding, 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 ding. For Brent. And
Between
so,
the 3 of us, we're one giant brain, which
But
I
she-
love. Thank you, Brent.
she taught herself so many things. She had to teach herself a little bit of physics so she could understand why this was happening. Then she taught herself CAD CAM, everyone.
Yeah.
Then, in order to apply for the patent, she did it herself. No attorney. It's like the stack is this high. It's so hard to file a patent with the USPTO. And she did all of that. And then she's ready, and she found a local manufacturing facility, got this beautiful contraption that kept sheets from wadding up. You've got to go follow her, Wad Free on TikTok. Amazing. And she gets on Shark Tank, and they love it. And she just soars. It's just such, taking just a really crappy situation and turning it into a profitable business. And then, okay, I want to say Quan, another formerly incarcerated gentleman. His father, he was first generation Cambodian, I think. And Dad was amazing. He did such incredible work with refugees. Dies suddenly of a heart attack when Quan was maybe 13. And Quan went right into the gang. And Quan gets sent up about 10 years later for 2nd-degree murder in California in a system where parole hadn't really happened for 27 years.
Right.
And he has an evolution. He, evolves as a human within the company, while being incarcerated. And turned his life around and now helps other incarcerated folks do entrepreneurship. And when he got out, he set up a janitorial business because he said, what did I do well while I was in prison, while I was incarcerated? And that's what he did well. And he hired all formerly incarcerated folks and did great, and now teaches entrepreneurship to folks who are incarcerated. So we had so many great stories, one after another, of founders who did remarkable things. So needless to say, I feel so blessed to have had these conversations, Mia. And
you know what I love? I'm going to jump in. What I love is rather than just skating in, you're like, well, that was cool. In typical Andy fashion, you're going to recap for us all the people that's so exciting. And that even with a couple names that Brent's thrown out there, you keep that in your head. And I adore that about you. And I feel like we all need to be more like Andy in that sense of remembering what other people do and being the cheerleader for people and being able to, and I like to call it, I talk about the handle. So you have an easy handle that you can give to people that they can hand you off to other folks as well. And you're so adept at that. And I think that's something that we need to be, it's very encouraging and inspiring because we need to just tell those quick little, and they did this. And it just, when you hear that, of course, me with my curious mind with my podcast, I'm like, oh, tell me more. And I think we all need to be more curious about these, unique ways of, quite frankly, problem solving.
That's right. But we got to keep the humor. So let's just have a moment of humor, everybody.
It's the person laughing in the background too, who sounded just like me too.
I've only seen it hundreds of times, and I still laugh my ass off.
Oh my God, it's really true. I mean, you always talk about, one minute you're popping the champagne, and the next minute you're crying into it. Is such
absolutely
a perfect way to describe it.
So, everybody, the 250th episode, I want to tell you something about the woman I had on. It is the phenomenal Niley Managu. And this is a woman, and if those of you tuning in are just listening, she's a woman of color out of the UK and Spain. And her company she's a tech and product catalyst for startup founders and investors. And she is amazing. She has a very strong tech background. So she really understands, especially the tech founders who are trying to bring things in. She has a one-on-one live event you can tune into on the last Friday of every month. She has a great podcast. There's so many ways. She's got tons of free tools. I felt really good having her as episode 250, Mia, because I felt I was leaving everybody in great hands. You and I know what happens when you land on Apple, Google Podcasts, Spotify. It's always the most recent episode is right there. Yeah. And I felt I left everybody with great founder coaching. Right there. She's so accessible and so smart. And so I want everybody to be sure to go check her out. I'll put up her banner here. It's Niley Managu, and she's the founder of Athena Leaders. And go follow her. She knows how to get shit done, folks. That's just the bottom line. I'm going to say it right there, because she knows how to take that product and get it to market. And she understands the tech behind it. So important.
She does.
Oh, good, Natalia. You saw that with the kid. Is that not funny? Oh my gosh.
So true.
Oh my gosh.
You know what, can I, on a quick serious note, and here's why your shows are so needed, whether it's the end of a show is, we're seeing even today with what happened with the Supreme Court that is as much progress as we felt. And, you talked about that moment in 2020, and we all felt that as well too, when we really woke up from a social justice standpoint, or just more of a opening your eyes of what experience outside of your own experience can be, and how important that is for inclusivity, that the backlash and what's happened in the last year, and this very slow rolling back of progress, shows you even more how important these episodes are and how important it is to showcase these founders now more than ever.
Yep. So true. So true. Yeah. Folks, you've seen the meme.
I'm gonna have a drink.
The white guy is clink, clink to that. White guy is looking again, down the race lane. He's going to be racing this person beside him. It's all clear sailing. There are no obstacles. Okay. Mm-hmm. The woman, the Black person, the, disabled LGBTQ plus community person, all these obstacles are in the way. And remember when we had Dr. Grant on the show with his equality again, Brent, what was that business?
But bringing up some other good ones too.
This is, the business where they've created a virtual reality experience. So instead of DEI, where you can DEI training, where you can conceptualize how hard it is. This is putting the goggles on, and all of a sudden you're the one who's experienced bias that you've never had before. And you're like, say what? And you feel it on a deep level.
Do. Oh my gosh, that was so incredibly powerful. I mean, unless you yes, movies at times can, give people that idea, but even then it's, for lack of a better phrase, it's whitewashed into either a saviorism type of thing, or click your fingers and then everybody, gets along, and how people love to equity comments, he says. I love it.
Brent for the win.
Google.
Equity
Yeah.
comments. Thank you.
You really, I mean, until you, the interesting is when you see someone go through that light bulb moment of like, oh my God, how, you know, and they're horrified, or you have to help them kind of like, okay, don't center it on yourself now that you're realizing that this is what other people go through. Well, how are you going to be a part of the solution now?
Yep. Be an ally, or you can be like me and me. The two of us are accomplices, which means we're willing to get up at 2 a.m. and kick ass.
Yeah.
So,
or, you know, read somebody the riot act.
Right. So it's that's why this is so important. I think it's this old white European paradigm and part of the white supremacy and capitalism, which is like, I pulled myself up by my bootstraps. You know, we have it here in the old Yankee world of New England. BS. Someone set the landscape for you to do mighty fine, and others do not have that. Or, you know, what so many women see, and we've been getting from the VCs, is just the indoctrination I spoke about earlier. Women are not trustworthy and they are not risk takers. It's in the lizard brain, and you cannot get rid of that indoctrination until you change laws and until someone starts earmarking funds specifically for women, women of color, anybody of color, and from the communities. So,
and I know a lot of your founders, the female founders that have talked about this too, and one of the earlier clips that you had to, you know, talk about that pushback when it comes to money, and, you know, these things of like, oh gosh, you know, that we're not good with money, or and I know that especially with the patriarchal society, that's more about, because we're more willing, and I'm going to do a post on it today with the car companies about women being, you know, that make most of 85%, if not overall, of all of overall buying decisions. You know, that scene is that we're not good with money, which is so crazy to me. It's just more, we know how to allocate it, and we're going to look outside of just that sort of one path lane of what the purchase is going to be. And so breaking that stigma as well.
Oh my gosh.
Of like the only people that are good with money are, you know, my rant.
Yeah, no, that's
anybody else.
Where did that come from? And also, you know, emotions are good. I followed this guy on TikTok who's always talking about the next time you need to cry and someone gives you a hard time for it, tell them to shut the F up. I mean,
pound it. Yeah.
Tears are good. Tears are a way of releasing. These are good tears. These are angry tears.
Yeah.
These are full tears. But speaking of women, Natalia, how many children do you have? Right? We get biased about being a mom, or if you're in child, how are you going to raise a kid? Well, how does the man raise the kid? Like, what is up with that?
Oh my gosh, it's so dumb. And it's like, I can't believe it's still going on. And, you know, and then on the flip too, because I had done an episode about being a childless matriarch, you get it on all sides.
Yeah,
absolutely. There's just this undermining. And, you know, the more that we as women push back against it, like, no, I'm not going to buy into that trope of, you know, pitting people against one another.
Oh, and that, you know, oh, boo-hoo, you didn't. Oh, here she is. You have 4. That's right, Natalia. And I mean, you've been kicking ass from day one out there, but now as a founder, you're seeing this. And folks, you know, speaking of which, you know, founderhood, complicated. And I've seen people who've come from large corporations where they had huge amounts of responsibility, managing billion-dollar budgets. And still they said, oh my gosh, this is so hard what I'm doing now. But speaking of, there's that great podcast out now. Glennon Doyle was talking about it on We Can Do Hard Things. The woman who talks about basically, you know, child-free, good for you. Okay.
Oh yeah.
Because
that makes that, boy, is there a lot of pushback. I mean, Chelsea Handler makes people just go apoplectic about, oh my God, how dare you, right?
Not procreate.
Not procreate. But, and that's the great thing too, is you can say that and have it not be an anti having kids type of thing.
Right.
And that's usually what it gets misconstrued at. Again, the pitting against each other, as opposed to, hey, you know, this is, you know, this is a beautiful thing. How is this turned into an adversarial type of situation?
Right. And, you know, and the pity or the what happened. Oh no. God. It's like,
Can I just say, I was in an Uber last night and, you know, just chit-chatting, and he said something about, because there was a woman crossing the street and mean, talk about like having kids in New York City does not seem like a good idea because they're just, darting everywhere. There's just, oh my goodness. And it makes
Mayhem.
me nervous, even as mayhem is right. He said something. I said, no, I don't have kids. And he sort of got that little bit of, pity thing. And I said, oh, sir, no. All good here.
Child-free by choice.
Child-free by choice, exactly. But also a childless matriarch and supportive.
That's right.
Of women and moms, being
That's
the
right.
auntie, that type
Absolutely. And as a mom, and certainly I was an older mom, I have to be honest with you, my inner circle were all women, either empty nesters or child-free by choice, because I needed those conversations. I needed to stay engaged because it can be mind numbing. I heard Glennon Doyle say the other day that she looks at her kids and sometimes she doesn't know what to say. Should it be "you're welcome" or "I'm sorry for bringing you into the world"?
Oh my gosh, no,
Because it's so hard.
Yes.
But moving along, I just want to tell everybody that, I talk about being a 4 times founder, right? I've been unemployable, Mia, since 1992. I always introduce myself. Hello, my name is Andy. I've been unemployable since 1992. I fell off the wagon
too, because of you.
09, but I fired myself. And then I took another job a little after that and got fired from that. But mostly I have built businesses and I have never had what's called the founder market product fit ever. My first business, I helped raise money for a couple of founders. This was back after I left the corporate world in 92. While I was getting ready, I was trying to birth some babies. And then when I had a toddler, a 3-year-old, and nursing a 6-month-old, I launched a .com with my darling man, Chet. We raised over $8 million. We were in the college market. We provided entertainment content to the college market. We were online, on cable, and on campus. We were doing early YouTube, Facebook things. It was wild.
Wow.
And we turned down $14 million from Bear Stearns. May they rest in peace, because we had so many, we had other investors, and people have a say, and they also can have a sway in your decision making. We didn't know that it was going to have such a horrible crash. And we grew the company to over 50 employees, and we were in Southern California, and we were really rocking it when the crash happened. And I remember Chet was on CNBC getting interviewed, or maybe it was Fox News, Business News, and the ticker tape was starting to go down. It was like, oh my God, it was so scary. And so we were out in Southern California with a 5-year-old and a 3-year-old when it all blew up. And we were this close to monetization, which it had only been 2.5 years. That's like lightning speed. And we had figured out our pathway to revenue, which was really amazing. We had another 5 million coming in. Documents were all signed. We were waiting for the wire when the VC firm who was providing that went belly up. So some of the things that we saw, I was interviewed for Wired magazine at the time, and I told them this is not sustainable. This way of hustling is not sustainable. So now we're talking 2000, late 2000. And, it was a lot of young men
How'd that go over? That went over like... My dad says a turd in a punch bowl. That's a Mel Vossism. That did not go over.
Fast forward 20 years later, the same kind of crazy hustling going on. And that's why we love following the Nat Ministry. Folks, please open eyes, open hearts anytime you can. The hustle culture is toxic. It does not work. It burns people out. You have to have your relationships. You do not have to grow your business overnight. It doesn't have to be the air you breathe. You can still build a successful business and have meaningful relationships and have days off, at least one day off from your business. But let's talk a little bit about the hustle culture, because I didn't understand it as well as the Nat Ministry woman explains, because she says this is a form of, and she's really talking to the Black community on this, for sure, especially Black women, which is this needing to hustle and work extra hard. That is from white supremacy, the slavery, and it is from really intense capitalism, exploiting labor and, squeezing out every last drop. So please look into the NAP ministry, everyone.
I'll post a link. It's Trisha Hersey, Hersey. You really got me fired up on her. She has the 4 tenets of the NAP, and then rest is resistance.
It is
her. It's
That's
incredible.
A.
Yeah.
I just feel so,
Yeah.
I just get like,
It's the anti-boss babe.
Anti-boss babe.
You know.
Thank you. And Jeremy from Red is saying no sleep, completely off mindset.
Yeah.
Yeah. You just do not create good things under those
Sure.
circumstances.
Sure.
And hey, Christopher, that's the inspiration. I'm in both your stories. It's a phoenix rising from the ashes. Well, let me go on and share with you. So, just taking you, if you don't mind, business number 2, Goddess Granola. So 9/11 happened. My husband happened to be in Midtown Manhattan when the towers went down. He actually flew from Logan to LaGuardia that morning. So, our household was affected even deeper, and as we all were from 9/11. And we were back onto the East Coast, and I was recovering from the .com. Marriage survived. That's another story. Thank you, therapy. And so when you lose everything with your darling, poof. I had been, getting ready to go back to work for someone, and nobody was hiring after 9/11. And Martha Stewart said, go into the kitchen and cook. And I woke up one day with a craving for granola. I went to the store to buy a bag and didn't like what I saw. So I pulled the ingredients off the shelf, stopped at the library on the way home, found a recipe I liked, took it home, made my first batch and ate it all. Made another batch, gave it out over the holidays. And I'll never forget my friend Michelle saying, Andy, you've got to start a business. I mean, look what so-and-so did down in Quincy Market with brownies. You can do this. I'm like, are you nuts? Yeah. I haven't recovered from the last business yet. We lost all our money with that. I'm still PTSD. She goes, no, this has legs. So I said, okay, here's what I'll do. I will call, and if I can find a commercial bakery, because in Massachusetts, you try to cook something from your home and sell it, you're going to jail. It's pretty fierce. So I said, if I can find a commercial bakery in, my first phone call, I'll do it, thinking never going to happen. So I call a local caterer and say, hey, I'm looking for a commercial bakery, blah, blah, blah. He goes, oh my gosh, I just got off the phone with Steve Jacobs from Boston Tea Cakes, and he's looking for someone to lease his commercial bakery. I was like, what the?
Okay. Yeah. That's a little too divine, right?
Yeah. I was like, dang. So I launched a food business with no experience in food whatsoever. I, like anybody else who had never done food, I was like, what? How hard can it be? Holy mackerel, the hardest business out there, especially if you have a shelf life product. But it took off on its own. It was, an amazing, I could barely keep up on it. One of my favorite stories out of it was the trademark for Goddess Granola. I filed the US, with the USPTO, which you can do on your own. I know, use an attorney, of course, but if you want, you can do it on your own. And they declined it because there was a company that had a similar name with a granola bar. And so I called down to the USPTO and talked to one of their attorneys. I go, well, how can I make this work? I'm using my tax dollars, right? And they go, well, you could call the owner and see if they would be okay with you and if they would sign this document. So I go, well, who's the owner? And they said, oh, it's so-and-so from the Lotus Bakery in Santa Cruz, California. I'm like, oh, peace and love. I got this one. And so I called the guy. He said, oh, of course. No, I don't do scarcity. There's room for all. I'm like, yay. And nice. And he signed the document. And I had a phenomenal 5-year run. Folks, I didn't go to the shelves. So what I knew to be true, because I do have some smarts in these brains here, was that to go on the shelf, it's just, you have to have a lot of money to get on Whole Foods and any of the grocery stores, Albertsons, wherever you are in the world. So I said, I'm going to go through food service. I got certified as a woman-owned business with WeBank, and I got picked up by Sodexo, Aramark, Compass, and I scaled the business in 2 years nationally.
And let me toot your horn again that I love that you really do help educate women about, and you can be very passionate about that, of getting the women-owned business designation. And I know it's a lot, but that's incredible.
Thank
that
you.
help.
Yeah, to this day, I help women get that application done and get their, so that they can get certified.
Someone do that.
They leave money on the table, especially if they're in construction.
I busted. Okay. You all heard it. This is the accountability phone call. This is actually just a whole scheme to get me accountable. And I appreciate that.
So anyway, guys, I had the best run. I called myself the chief executive goddess. I would call, the corporate accounts, and they go, "Yo, Joe, the goddess is on the phone." I mean, everywhere I went, it's the goddess this and the I. So I was about to raise, and I had the best angel investor, like from day one. I mean, he was just in it. He would come to the fancy food shows with me. He was phenomenal. And so I was about to raise another $250,000. We were almost 5 years in. And what happened was, because I wanted to go the Kellogg's route, national distribution. And two of my ingredients got wiped out by agriculture. I said, okay, I can make that up in volume. And then my manufacturing facility got hit by a really bad lightning storm and burned to the ground. But even then I was like, I can do this. I can figure this out. And I was home like thinking, okay, how do I get around this? And Chet walks in the door in the middle of the day. He'd just been laid off. I was like, put a nail in it. I was so upset because, it started off with that first phone call, right? It was so meant to be.
Sure. Right. Divine and the whole thing.
And it was a great run. And I had a great angel investor who told me at the end when I had to close down, he said, you know what? Even knowing this was the outcome, I still would have done this because this was a great run.
Excellent.
So cried for 3 months, everybody. It was really sad.
What year was that, Andy?
That was 2006.
Okay. Because I'm tracking. I know these stories. This is fun to hear all this. We've been friends for so long, but how you hear the different pieces. And you're like, oh, that's right. And then you do that.
Meanwhile, I had a 9 and a 7-year-old at that point at home. And so, I got into the mothering and did some side gigs because that's me. I'm always side hustling something. When we dropped both kids off at camp. And I thought, I feel another business idea coming on. How do you keep couples staying tuned in and turned on year after year? I mean, look at us. How do we stay intimate year after year? Maybe other couples want to know our secret on things that have worked for us. Maybe we can find other ways to help people. I think I'll call it Bring Back Desire.
Yeah, that's when we got to be friends.
Yeah. So Bring Back Desire, a little side story. I used a local business plan competition to help me get, use it as a benchmark to get this done. And oh my gosh, I went to pitch, and I'm talking about orgasms, women, stimulation, girl boners, you name it. And this is in puritanical Boston. And how usually there's always questions afterwards. The other 3 people, by the way, I made it to the semifinals and got some great coaches here in Boston, some angel investors who thought it was a great idea, 2 women my age. In fact, a lot of women had to, told me that were my age, your career is ruined. And some, and I'd have some women tell me, well, what does your husband think about what you're doing? And I would say, he loves it when I bring my work home. So anyway, Bring Back Desire, digital marketing. I had a great run with that until I just got tired of watching everybody get bad advice online. So in 2014, I pivoted and created Startup Life and have been coaching and mentoring founders until today. And, the show, all of this has been such a rich and rewarding experience, mentoring. But what I realized a few months ago, I'm always telling founders, really go for your peer support. You've got to have peer support. And then I thought, where's my peer support? And then I realized I'm a podcaster. I'm a live streamer. I need to be looking in that direction, which is the long way of saying, here I am on the, someone picked up Andy, the girl boners, really? Thank you, Gerald.
That made me giggle.
Yes, Jeremy, Chet and I both had to. We both had some big mishaps. As I say to everybody, Chet and I, we've lost babies and businesses, all our money and all our hormones, but we didn't lose each other. So every time, all this, I didn't have any, prior knowledge about sex and all of that for Bring Back Desire and all of that. And so I never
But
had
you
a
had
founder
lived experience.
Exactly. I did have the lived experience. And so a couple of 3 or 4 months ago, I just started feeling called to dive deeper into my being a producer and host. And so I recently created Andy Lyons Productions, and I am pivoting out of startup life and starting my new Andelicious Adventure. So I want to tell everybody about that. I'm going to be launching a new podcast called Your Ink Story. And it's a human interest, social impact podcast sharing the stories behind the body art folks wear. And it's using tattoo art as a way to highlight what we all have in common. And I'll, through interviews, short, little 10-minute or so interviews, I'll tease out heartfelt and inspirational stories from folks who express their human lived experiences with body art. And I just have to tell you, for decades, I've walked up to perfect strangers and said, and when I saw their tattoo, I was like, oh my gosh, tell me your ink story. And I would be like, oh my God, it's beautiful. And, so the show, because we are founders, so we have to know who are the listeners, who's our users. The show will have two types of listeners. One, those who have tattoos and who love hearing why other folks choose the art they wear, where they choose to wear it on their body, right? And are inspired by the stories for future tattoos, because a lot of them are like, I need to add something here, but I don't know what to do. Boom, and they also feel a real sense of belonging and community. And then the other folks are me, and like Nancy J, who are curious and love hearing the stories behind why someone chose a tattoo, reminding us all that we're all connected through our human experiences of love, loss, and the artistic expression of what we love and grieve over, and symbols that are important to us. So, I mean, just recently a woman talked about her tattoo, which was her daughter died at the age of 19, and they can take the ashes and mix it in with the tattoo ink, which is a beautiful tattoo. So big reveal, everybody. This is just a screenshot. It's not an original yet, but I just got this from my wonderful designers yesterday. Ta-da! Your Ink Story. There you go. You'll be seeing that in the podcast world. And I'm very, very excited to get this podcast launched probably in the next 5 or 6 weeks. Lots of fun, and looking forward to this new adventure. And probably by August, you'll be able to find Your Ink Story wherever you tune into podcasts. If you know someone or you have an inspirational ink story, please email me. Can
I be on the show?
Pardon me? Oh gosh,
You know I'm going to have to be on the show with my
absolutely, Mia Voss on the go. Andy at yourinkstory.com.
Boom. Look at you already with the brandedness. I mean,
Oh
you're
my
walking the
gosh,
talk.
moving right along. I'm so excited. And as much as I love, having this wonderful experience with all the founders, it's time to move on. And I listen when life says, hey, we're going right now. Okay, here we go. Here we go. Yeah. And you can, shoot me an email. All right. If you want to get on the alert list, I'll add you to the alert email list. I'll have all sorts of information. Follow Tell Me Your Ink Story on Instagram. I should have that up and running real soon. And I'm very, very excited about this. Thank you, LinkedIn user. Is that you, Rebecca? Thank you all for all your support. Thank you, Mia, for joining me on this after startup life party.
Well, and I'm so proud of you because, I've been privy to this journey in the last couple weeks and months of you making of making the decision. And y'all, I mean, when we talk about the founders and all this, like this is this uncomfortable, messy story of making that decision and listening to that voice. And that's what you've been going through. And it's been such a privilege to kind of hold space with you and for you, because you've done that with me in the last year and a half as I co-created some new situations in my life. And that's part of what you do anyway, is just celebrate this, this almost discomfort of like, gosh, is it time? Is it time? And to give it an honorable send off. Bye. And now you're going to the next thing.
Thank you so much, Mia. You again, your support, you too, Brent, out there. The support has been phenomenal. I'm so grateful to have you in my life. And we just want to remind everybody, speaking of podcasts, shit we don't talk about, you can find it everywhere podcasts are carried. And Mia Voss is the best at this. Any last words? I'm not going to pop you into any green room. We're just going to wrap right up. I'm going to say some final thoughts and we're out of here.
No, I mean,
That's a wrap.
kudos. You really did. I mean, you really created, 250 shows is no joke. So wonderful job.
Thank you.
Proud of you.
It's a beautiful body of work, which I honor and appreciate. And I honor and appreciate everyone who's been on this show and who's tuned into this show. I feel so blessed to, have known all of you and to get to know your companies and everything that you're doing. And as I always say, as I log off and end every show, I want you to remember always you're braver than you believe, stronger than you seem. And as we say here in Boston, wicked smarter than you think. You've got this. I am blowing you kisses filled with appreciation for not only adding wind to my sails, but for having the courage to share your journey with us on the show or in the comments or in commenting online to the posts. Your support has meant the world to me. Thank you for helping me amplify diverse founders and their stories and their journeys and their founderhoods. Cheers from Boston, everybody. Mwah, mwah, mwah. I love you. I can't wait to see you during the next exciting and delicious adventure. Bye.